Psalm 121:1 I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. Where do you like to get away for a vacation? Some like to see the ocean, or perhaps some tourist area. Others like to go to the mountains for a quiet time away from the busyness of the daily grind and to enjoy the scenery. Thank you for joining us for Day 7 of 12 Days of Truth as we highlight a few of God's hills, such as Mount Rushmore, Mount St. Helens, Mount Sinai, and the volcanic island of Krakatoa. Mountains have a high place in Scripture, with hills such as where Jesus prayed or where he revealed his glory. May you be blessed for joining us, Creation Family Ministries, for a few highlights of mountain mysteries, one of our creation themes that we use to turn hearts to the Creator. Mount Rushmore is a marvel of human design, the work of a man named Gutzon Borglum over a period of 16 years. The project was actually never finished according to plan. Question: would anyone say that the massive heads appeared on the mountain all by themselves over millions of years through wind or water erosion, or by thermal expansion of the rock? No. Just like the carvings of the heads of George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Teddy Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln took a great deal of intelligence and design, so the real people represented by the heads are the result of an intelligent designer who made man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Think about it. Design demands a designer. The 1883 eruption of Krakatoa, a remote volcanic island near Indonesia, was one of the most catastrophic in history, creating massive tsunamis and killing more than 36,000 people. Enormous waves 1,000 feet high devastated locations such as Fourth Point Lighthouse, with the power of water even churning up a massive house-sized chunk of coral that crashed through the 4-foot-thick walls of the lighthouse, destroying it. Miraculously, the lighthouse keeper survived, but his wife and son did not. This event should remind us of the devastation of the biblical flood, during which the fountains of the great deep were broken up. Genesis chapter 7, verse 11. All of humanity, except Noah, his wife, and 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, with their wives, were destroyed in the flood. Those on board the ark are the only ones that survived the event to repopulate the earth afterward. In the books of Matthew and Luke, Jesus referred back to the flood as a real historical event, saying that this, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be also in the days of the Son of Man. They did eat, they drank, they married wives, they were given in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and the flood came and destroyed them all. Jesus said that the flood came, and evidence from true science confirms it. Mount St. Helens, a comparatively tiny volcano in Washington state, has been called God's gift to the creationist. In over 40 years after its eruption on Sunday, May 18, 1980, scientists have learned many things firsthand about catastrophism, canyon formation, and how quickly a devastated environment can rebuild itself. The largest recorded landslide in history sent the water of Spirit Lake scouring the shore on the other side of the lake, releasing a blast of material that destroyed 230 square miles of forest in minutes. Prior to the eruption, a man named Harry Truman, not the president by the same name, notably refused to listen to the warnings to leave the mountain. He was on record saying things like, "This mountain is a part of me, and I'm a part of it," and "let it rumble." He, with his lodge, would have been covered within a second or two in the landslide that released the pressure that had been causing the ground to rise at a rate of 5 feet per day. Such is a good illustration of eternity. One can say they don't believe in hell, but not believing in something doesn't make it false, just as believing something doesn't make it true. It isn't belief that's the key, it's the evidence. The evidence of Mount St. Helens involved snowpack, along with water from Spirit Lake and the Toutle River, that all combined to carve a new canyon system in 9 hours, up to 3 days. Now that's evidence. Evidence that goes against one of the chosen illustrations of evolution, that canyons formed over millions of years. Similar canyon systems to Mount St. Helens, like Utah's Canyonlands National Monument. There are signs there that tell visitors that its formation took place over millions of years. But we must ask ourselves, did the scientists who allege those long ages actually see the forming of the canyons in Utah? No. Perhaps there is another, more scientific explanation that does not include millions of years. How about a watery catastrophe that buried billions of creatures in rock layers all over the earth? When we consider the observable evidence, such as canyons, rock layers, or fossils of sea creatures at the top of Mount Everest, the global flood of Noah's day makes perfect sense. The secrets of Sinai. Perhaps the most important mountain in history, Mount Sinai, is said to be located in the Sinai Peninsula. Even all Bible maps show it located in the peninsula. But what does the Bible say? What does the evidence show? In Galatians chapter 4, the Apostle Paul, writing to the believers in Galatia, used an allegory from the Old Testament in comparing Abraham's wife Sarah to Mount Sion and her servant Hagar to Mount Sinai. And he wrote, "For this Hagar is Mount Sinai in Arabia." Those two words are in stark contrast to the Bible map location of Mount Sinai in the Sinai Peninsula, since Arabia is on the other side of the two fingers or gulfs of the Red Sea. In short, when the children of Israel escaped Egypt, they would have crossed the entire Sinai Peninsula, being led of God by means of a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. They would have come to the massive beach at Nueva, where the land gently slopes into the waters of the Gulf of Aqaba, and out the other side into Arabia. They certainly couldn't have traversed a canyon. At the bottom of the Gulf of Aqaba, there has even been found highly unusual coral formations, some of which resemble wheels and even axles. This is highly unusual, but consistent with the scripture, which says that God took off their, or the Egyptians, chariot wheels, that they drave them heavily. So that the Egyptians said, "Let us flee from the face of Israel, for the Lord fighteth for them against the Egyptians." Exodus 14:25. On the other side of this gulf, in the general area, there's a mountain that is blackened on top. The Bible tells us that God came down upon Mount Sinai, and that it was all together on a smoke. Exodus 19:18. In the book of Hebrews, we read, "For ye are not come unto the mount that burned with fire, nor unto blackness and darkness," as the writer of Hebrews clearly refers back to the fearsome events at Mount Sinai, and compares it in an analogy with the bountiful blessings of redemption that are found in Mount Sion, which represents the new covenant. There's also a huge pile of rocks that has carvings on it of bovine figures. The scriptures tell us that the children of Israel rebelled against God at Sinai and made and worshipped a golden calf. Such carvings on the rocks are quite intriguing, since that country is sheep and goat country, not cattle country. Even more, there's a giant split rock in that same area that is elevated and that shows signs of water erosion in the bottom of the crack. The Bible tells us that God told Moses to hit a rock with his rod, and the scripture says he provided water to the people from that rock. In short, like a giant puzzle, the many pieces of evidence all come together to proclaim the fact that the Bible is true. A number of years ago, after I shared this Secrets of Sinai presentation in a chapel at a Christian school, a teacher in that school who had not been in the service that day was present, though, as the children were leaving chapel and going to their next class. She told me that the children left chapel that day unusually excited about what they had heard. She mentioned that she overheard one of her second grader girls say that she sometimes wonders if God is real and his word is true. The teacher related to me that the evidence that the girl said she heard that day had confirmed for her that God does exist and that his word is true. The teacher then added, "That's why it's important for everyone to learn all they can about creation, to confirm that the Bible is as trustworthy in the realm of science as it is in any other subject. Thank you for the blessing your presentation was to our students." That teacher, now with the Lord, would doubtless be greatly saddened to know that this school where she taught has gone the way of so many other ministries, that of having very little use for creation and apologetics. Those of us who believe the Bible must wake up to the need, stand up, and speak up for the cause of Christ and his word, beginning with its foundation in Genesis, and show to the world the evidence that God is real and his word is true. Scripture says, if the foundations be destroyed, what can the righteous do? Don't be concerned with what others are thinking, what others are doing or not doing. The cause is greater now than we could ever imagine. Darwinian evolution has been taught as fact for more than a generation in our day and is believed by most people. However, creation is truth, and true science regularly confirms the biblical account. It's way past time to get in the battle for truth and let people know that they can trust God and his word.